Hello and welcome to Stillness and Success. I'm your host, Mustafa Nuristani. And today I've got a guest who is really going to give us a lot of laughter and also some great points about how life should be lived. You see, what he did was he turned his passion into a PhD program. Yes, he's a doctor and he loved video games so much that he decided to do his PhD thesis on video games. Let's welcome Dr. Owen Blake. Hello,
Hey, Mustafa.
Owen. How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to see you. Now, so how much does one have to love video games to do the whole PhD program on it? Tell me what happened.
Well, I think for me, it was not only a love of video games, but it was really a love and appreciation of Maharishi's knowledge and what it can do for individuals and for a group. I saw TM being implemented very successfully in sports. I actually did my TM teacher training course with Ruben Sanchez, who has been bringing TM to in a sports setting very successfully. And I thought that, wow, esports is an area that really needs this knowledge. And so I thought, well, this is something unique that nobody else in the movement is particularly looking at. And I thought, wow, this could really be a contribution, really a service and offering to the world to help this community live, enjoy their life more, be more successful, not be as burned out, and just yeah, enjoy life more.
Yeah, I like the point about enjoying life more because the whole point of life is expansion of happiness. And you wanted to expand your happiness by studying what you loved, which is really creative. Now, you said a few things there that I want to clarify. You said something about you became a teacher of Transcendental Meditation. And when was that?
2013.
Okay, it's a long time ago. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Oh, wow. Okay, good.
I did my I had to think about that for a second. I actually it was kind of a fun nerdy thing that I did.
Nerdy,
I
huh?
was
Okay.
yeah, where you're talking to
Video games
esports.
are not
Yeah,
nerdy. Yes.
but this
Go.
is an thing. So
Different level of nerdy. Go on.
after graduating from Maharishi International University with a BA in media and communications, at the time I thought I was gonna be a musician. I'm a piano player and
Oh.
wanted to make music for movies and commercials. And I then worked for admissions for MIU for a year. And after that, I was kind of struggling in my career. I wasn't sure. I wasn't really as fulfilled as I thought should be.
Hmm.
And I did this little nerdy experiment where I wrote out happiness in the middle of the paper, and I wrote down all the different things that make me happy. And I just sort of wrote down, okay, this, travel, being able to have a good routine, healthy lifestyle, this. And then I wrote down all my different sort of career options that I thought were open to me, or different opportunities that I thought could make sense. And then I scored them on how many of the different factors of happiness
I hope everyone's keeping up. Yes.
yeah, were each career. And what totally surprised me was that becoming a TM teacher scored the highest. This was something that I was not expecting. I thought that, when I grow up and get older, I will become a TM teacher. But after it scored the highest for my little happiness index, I decided that I should explore becoming a TM teacher. I started to have that thought, and I started to just get a lot of support for it happening. And before I knew it, I was off on
Mm,
my course.
beautiful. You know, this experience to have this desire to become a teacher of Transcendental Meditation is such a incredible experience because as soon as you go on that desire, you just give in, maybe this is it. Maybe I don't need to be old to become a teacher of Transcendental Meditation. Maybe because, all the other people who became teachers of Transcendental Meditation were also in their 20s or
Mm,
25, 30 or
mm,
whatever.
mm,
And but you talked about something really nice there. You said you got a lot of support.
mm.
And that's really, really precious, because people find that as soon as they get on this path, they just want to, maybe I should become a teacher of TM because, I have a lot to give, Or maybe I don't even know where I want to go. I don't know where I want to go, but what I want to do is make the world a better place.
Mm,
What I want to do is what I have inside of me, this silence, I want others to also have that experience.
mm.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Anyway, my story is different, but now, so then you went and became a teacher of Transcendental Meditation.
Yeah, well, let me just add a point in there because you brought out a really nice concept, which I think is really important when considering TM and the value of TM. Because I think when we think about our life and what we want to do and how to uh, be the most successful, but also be happiest and contribute most to the world, I think happiness is a really great um, sort of measuring stick of am I in the right direction? Am I moving in the right direction? And I think a beautiful value of TM is that it improves our ability to be self-referral.
Mm.
It improves our ability to understand and know and connect to our own inner knowingness. And if we don't have that, then we're completely unanchored, unrooted, and we have no way of understanding is what I'm doing right now bringing me that happiness and joy and fulfillment. So when I talk to people about TM and new meditators at MIU and so on, it's one of the biggest values is improving our ability to be self-referral, and that improves our ability then to know and reflect and refine our life as we move forward and to maximize our enjoyment and offering.
Mm. No, it's a really beautiful point, this one, because this experience of self-referral is an experience of using your prefrontal cortex.
Mm,
It gives you broader comprehension. You're able to detach yourself and see, not detach in a negative sense, but have the ability to have this bird's eye view of your life and how it's
mm.
where it's moving, where it's moving. And like you said, the happiness factor really can be measured where you're like, yeah, this path
Mm,
is more happy.
yeah.
And then this path also happy, but this is I'm just drawn here.
Yeah, more inner fulfillment, maybe even more energy, more dynamism, more desire to move in that
Mm,
direction. I think that is what is created. There's more clarity there with through TM. There's more inner knowingness. That experience of yes, I'm on the right path, or yes, this is right for me, becomes more
mhm.
clear because we are more in touch with who we are
Yeah.
ultimately.
So now let's go back. You went and became a teacher of Transcendental Meditation.
Yeah.
And then you came back, but then how did you decide I want to do my PhD in e-sport? We'll call it
Yes.
e-sport, not video gaming,
There,
e-sport, yes.
yeah, well, I'll help you with the definition in a little bit.
Thank you.
But,
Thank you.
so after my TM teacher training course, I went to San Diego, California, where I taught for about a year there in Encinitas. And then I went to Brooklyn, New York, where I worked with the David Lynch Foundation. I was a site leader for a quiet time program in Brooklyn. So I worked with a middle school there. We had about 97% of the students were doing TM. It's really, really beautiful experience. And then I decided to go back to MIU to get my master's degree.
Mm,
I was feeling at that
mm,
time like I really wanted to come back to the knowledge. I really wanted to come back to Fairfield is a very sort of supportive environment. I really wanted to come back there and dive deeper into the self again. So I did my master's in Maharishi Vedic science at that time. Now the program is called Consciousness and Human Potential. But
beautiful.
yeah.
Now, a couple of things that I think we should clear up for everyone. DLF stands for David Lynch Foundation, and it's the organization that brings TM to at-risk population and also underprivileged kids and students and veterans of war. So
Mm.
that's what they do, and it's great work that they do there. And then MIU, as you mentioned before, is Maharishi University,
International
International
University.
University. And this is a university that's providing consciousness-based education, which means that everyone practices transcendental meditation as part of their curriculum. And it's an accredited university, and it's in Fairfield, Iowa. Is it which direction is it? How do we say? Is it
What we call the Midwest. That's what
Midwest?
we call
Yes,
it.
yes. The Midwest. It
Of the United States.
sounds
Yeah. It's
more.
it's kind of in the middle of the country. Yeah.
It's just really peaceful there. It's just like I've been there, so
Mhm.
like just lots of like you drive and you drive and you drive and you're like, oh, just fields and fields.
Yeah, it's
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 just
bare fields. Yeah, there's lots of it's flat. There's lots of fields. It's peaceful, but more importantly, there's a community there that are part of this Transcendental Meditation organization movement connected with the university. And so there's a large group of people who are actively practicing the meditation technique and are really invested and interested in improving themselves and their life and the world through these technologies. And
And
so,
also, Owen, getting a degree that will set them up for the rest of their life, in all fields of life. So maybe you can say, you said something about, you did media and communications. That was your degree program.
yeah,
And then there's also business degrees and computer science degrees that people can do. And
art and writing
yes,
and
so it's
higher
just a
ed. Yeah.
full-blown university.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
Yes.
it's fully accredited with the Higher Learning Commission. So
Yes, it's fully accredited. And anyway, so now let's go back to esports.
esports. Okay, well, esports are sort of a subcategory within the video game broader category. Video games are a huge industry, much bigger even than music and movies. The in the global industry, it's just absolutely huge, and a subsection of that is the esports. Esports are video games that are played more professionally. Usually they're a team setting, but sometimes they're individual games or individual, played with one person. And usually involves some sort of watching of the game, a league, a competitive setting. So there's usually a competitive ecosystem in which they're played. People watch, people maybe pay to go attend an event. It really feels like a sporting event when you watch them in person. Um, but
So they're watching it on a screen? You
yes,
said you pay to go. Where do you go?
well, so these events can be held in person. For instance, there's one game called League of Legends that I've worked with significantly. They had a world's tournament. Are selling out huge basketball arenas in the United States and so on. They sell out in like less than 15 minutes. These events are
I'm
absolutely,
missing out,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
So now I go to the stadium. What do I do as a
So
patron?
they have the teams on stage.
I'm so sorry. I don't do any
So
video games. So that's
yeah.
why I wanted to get this guy here because he's going to give me so much
In the
information.
industry, we call you a noob.
A noob.
A noob.
Okay.
Yeah. So
It sounds cool.
yeah.
Sounds cool.
So usually at these events, you'll have the two teams on stage, and they'll be behind a desk at a computer. They'll maybe a webcam on front with a screen so you can see their faces on the screen, and then behind them there'll be a huge screen that shows in game sort of what's happening. So you have sort of one team on playing and communicating with headsets, and then you have another team on the other side of the stage communicating, and the audience can all see what's happening, but then also get sort of individual views on
Mhm.
my play versus somebody else's play, and it really there's a lot of energy, a lot of dynamism, a lot of excitement, because these esport games are very difficult, which is something that makes them really enjoyable to watch. Just like any sport, you want to watch somebody who's really mastered their craft, who's really ahead of the game and really pioneering the sport. So that's fun to watch. It's engaging, especially if you play it yourself. So
So
yeah.
what I want to ask you now is when we watch someone perform, a sports player, like you said, at the peak of their career, it actually is this experience of the flow state that they're in,
Mm,
that they're radiating or they're vibrating that level, and it creates this experience of exhilaration in the environment, and everyone is awestruck
mm,
by the performance of this
mm,
person because they're doing something, like they're running or they're swimming or they just become that that sport, and they are the representative. They're just that the highest level. Now, what happens when people are sitting and they're playing video games? Is the experience of that flow state there with the individuals looking at the screen, or is it like, more techniques that they have to use?
No, absolutely. I mean, you can have the experience of the flow or being in the zone. We experience that. We experience an aspect of that, a flavor of that with our transcendental meditation technique on a daily basis, that experience of transcending. And so now taking that experience into action, um, we experience it sitting down, with our eyes closed, taking it out into action. Absolutely. Sitting down, looking at a screen, you can have that experience of flow or zone state. So it's definitely something that can be experienced by
Hmm.
these sport athletes. And that's an experience when, um, we look in I'm working with at MIU, the consciousness-based sports program, and we talk about it in terms of alignment of four levels of performance. You have on the surface, you have a physical level, a little bit deeper, a little more abstract. You have the mind, the mental level, going a little deeper, a little more abstract, the level of emotions, and then even deeper beneath that, you have the level of self or transcending identity. So we have these four levels, and only when these four levels are really acting in alignment are you going to have a consistent experience of peak performance, of the flow of zone. So this is something that we train at MIU in our consciousness-based sports. This is something that I helped athletes, the esport athletes that I was working with in Berlin. We train in connecting, and TM is a really important aspect of this, a foundational aspect component of this experience, because you develop it within yourself in meditation, and then it's easier to access when you're in activity, even in a dynamic setting. And I think it's just in comparison, there's a lot of different sports that have different sort of physical requirements, different mental requirements. Esports obviously has less of a physical requirement, but there's still a lot of dexterity and reaction speeds that are in hand-eye coordination that are required. And then mentally, they're extremely demanding usually.
This is the other point, Owen. When someone has so much demand
Mm.
on their brain,
Yeah.
because I have seen, young people when they're playing video games, they're completely absorbed. And that's why I have banned my kids from playing any kind of video games.
Yeah.
I don't have any games on my phone because if I play, then they will say, I want to play too. So, what kind of dangers are there for young people getting into e-sport? And because when you are a swimmer, you finish your career and your physiology is really healthy and your mind is really healthy, and then you get into something else. Is there some kind of overuse of the brain or different parts of the brain with e-sport?
It's a beautiful question. Very insightful. Thank you, Mustafa. I will say that, like anything in life, if you become overbalanced or out of balance and doing something too much, it can be dangerous or unhealthy. I think video games, when done in an appropriate amount, can be a healthy activity. But I think that one thing is really, really important, and that is that they have access to the experience of the self through meditation. Because what happens in video games is you are controlling a digital avatar, or you're working with in a digital environment. So you're outside of yourself. There's some hand-eye coordination involved, absolutely, but you're controlling this digital avatar outside of yourself. And so if you're spending too much time in that environment, you become a little less, or I'm sort of hypothesizing here, but a little bit of a less grounded connection with the self. And so I think being able to have a technique like TM, where on a daily basis, these athletes can sort of do the opposite of what they're doing with esports. Esports is all about very small moments of space and time outside of the body. And in TM, we're experiencing an unbounded state, and an absence of time and space is sort of really expanded. And you're really deeply rooted and connected in the self and in the body. So I think it's really important to balance these digital environments with really rich experiences of inner self.
Now, this is a really beautiful understanding of, point and infinity and all of that when we experiencing transcending. But what about what happens to the brain physiology in terms of the structure of the brain, where different parts of the brain is enlivened when you are paying attention to the different lights and the different sound effects and different, because the video games that, I grew up with um, are totally different to the video games today, because I see that the colors that they're using, the sounds, the vibrations, everything is geared to affect different parts of the brain to keep you engaged. And so overusing those different parts of the brain does not create mental exhaustion. And you think that with the practice of TM, because the coherence is created again in the brain, the orderliness is created again, the balance is created again, then that experience subsides that negative influence of the.
I'd say it like this. I would say esports and many video games are very stimulating to the brain. and require, especially the more complex, skill-intensive games that esports are. They require immense activation and of the brain and a lot of resource use. So do they get tired? Absolutely. Are they stressed? Absolutely. That's why where you have esport athletes that are retiring at the age of 22, 24, because they're one of the reasons is because it's a lot of work. It's intense. There's some mixed research. We don't quite know exactly what the experience is for the physiology and for different brain parts. The whole industry is very new. There's a lot of research that still needs to be done. So we're not sure, we don't know exactly, okay, are we overstressing some aspect of the brain? We're not sure. But at the moment, the experience is that it's a very intense activating experience, which is why having the experience of the opposite is so important. I will add, and I will say, I will compare esports with traditional sports. An athlete as a professional basketball player, for example, that is not exactly a healthy long-term experience for the physiology. The
Mm.
body is being overtaxed.
Hmm.
The body is being too much demands on the body. So I think you can say that at sort of a professional level, it requires uh, an unhealthy push in that direction. Now, can that be achieved? Can that high level of performance be achieved with less stress? Absolutely, and that's what consciousness-based sports is all about.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. And when you said something about they retire at the age of 22,
Yeah.
24, what does that look like?
Well, my dissertation gets into this, Mustafa. If you'd like to
Good. Well,
take a
this
read,
is why
yeah.
I invited the expert,
Link in the chat.
ladies and gentlemen. Yes,
Link
link in the
below.
chat of my dissertation.
So there's a lot of esport athletes, particularly in the very complex games, tend to retire early. Now, there's a idea around, okay, they're 24, their reaction times aren't what they used to be when they were young and 18, so they're getting too old or washed up, and now they need to retire. And that's a very real sentiment in the industry. I think that is totally ridiculous, and I think that the difference between a reaction time at 18, it's the scientific literature does point to reaction times peaking at around that young age. But by 24, the difference shouldn't be big enough that somebody has to retire. The difference, what I proposed in my dissertation, is that those games are just so demanding that as they're getting a little bit older, they're maturing a little bit more, their interests start to change. And they're now no longer willing to invest so much of their time and so much of their life needed to be at the top of their game consistently. And so now they start to, okay, I'd love to go do this. I'd love to spend some time in this. And now they're not able to be at their best. And then so they start slipping and they sort of can no longer compete at that highest level. That happens with quite a few athletes that I've interviewed and worked with, but not everyone. Some of them are able to stay really dedicated and devoted even as they get older. So I don't think it is really so much about reaction time slowing down. I think it's more actually about sort of a maturation process.
Now, this maturation process is also very important because, when someone is maturing, different parts of the brain is also becoming more and more integrated,
Mm,
and so their interest changes.
mm.
And do you think that it's their body in a way telling them, it's enough, let's move on to something like go for a walk in the park,
Boring.
look at the trees? Now, you say boring, but you know what his request was? Can we do this interview in the jungle? Because you see, the reason why we are here is because I'm attending a summit here in Vlorjop, Meru, Maharishi European Research University, and we've got a summit, and I've found this guy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to talk to him because he lives in the U.S. or in Europe, and this setting is Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who's the founder of Transcendental Meditation, his house basically. So he said, Mustafa, would it be really crazy that we don't do this indoor and we do it, you know, in the jungle out there? And I said, that would be really crazy, Owen. And now I see his interest is also changing. He doesn't want to be indoors anymore. He wants to be more in nature. That's exactly what I'm trying to say here is that as we age and the brain is becoming more, connected, and the
Mhm.
self experience of the self is becoming more
Mhm.
and more um, available, then we are attracted to different things. And then we just, we
I think what we're seeing is there's a lot of interest at a young age in playing games, playing video games.
tell me about it.
And yeah, I'm sure you, as a young parent, I'm sure you know all about that. It's a very exciting activity. It's something they can share with their friends and so on. And
But aren't the video games designed to activate different parts of the brain that produce um, influences or, secretes hormones that are exciting, like serotonin and like that?
I would say a lot of different aspects of our modern life are designed around increasing dopamine and sort of hacking that reward circuit of the brain. So yeah, I mean, video games, there's a lot of different things I would say in our modern life that are really all about that. So yeah, video games I think are very exciting. They do release a lot of dopamine. They're very fast. They're a lot of fun. So I think it's very natural for yeah for kids. So anyway, I would say that from a young age, kids are playing these games and they can become very good at these games. At the age of 18, a lot of people become professionals. So that's the age when they can become professionals. So I think then as they get older, they maybe they move in with a team, they start practicing and competing, and they're really interested in it. But then as they get a little bit older, then maybe the interests start to diverge. They start to be maybe they do want to go outside and spend a little more time in nature. Maybe they do want to have some friends who do other things. And then I think that's just a very natural sort of evolution in their own growth, and maybe they move away from the game. And some of them want to enjoy working as a coach in the industry or do other things, and some move on completely into other jobs and other professions.
That's all we have time for today. Dr. Owen Blake, thank you so much for joining and giving us your insights and the great fun that it has been to talk with you. And thank you for your attention. I look forward to your company next week, where I get to meet another exciting individual who's going to share their experiences with us. Have a great day.